Nice to meet you online. You'll see me
Yes.
soon, later on today when I send you the tape. But
Okay.
you have a very good organization because I love animals, and what you're doing is great for the animals. So, when did you start this?
I started flying animals kind of on a volunteer, free time basis maybe 10 or 15 years ago. It's been quite a while. But
Oh,
the actual nonprofit organization has really come to life in the last year when I formed the nonprofit, the 501c3, and retired full time from the news business to kind of focus on this and get this going. And we've really done a lot in the last 12 months, and it's just getting busier almost every day.
yeah, there's a huge interest in animals every year more, right? So you're getting probably a lot of support.
Yeah, we did a fundraiser in February, and we doubled our goal that we were hoping to raise.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot because of the what's going on in California. We flew down. We flew actually 5 planes to Los Angeles to the Van
Oh,
Nuys Airport.
yeah, yeah. For
Yeah,
to
so
save the
the
animals.
fires down there. Yeah, so we moved some dogs out of the shelters to make room for families that had lost their homes and didn't have any place to put their pets until they got back on their feet. So we freed up some shelter space, brought some animals up here to Northern California to the Bay Area where they could be adopted out. They were already up for adoption in Southern California. So they've all been placed. They have good homes. And, but it's
This,
that kind of thing that's happening in California with these wildfires and other incidents that take place that animals have to be moved.
yeah.
This is the time
They,
of year in the summertime when there's a lot of orphaned wildlife. And sometimes, for whatever reason, animals get separated from their mothers. So we have to step in and help get those orphaned animals to safety. And we've
so,
been,
so these animals were already in shelters before.
yes, the Los Angeles animals were in the shelters for the city of Los Angeles. They have 3 or 4 shelters across LA. And they wanted to make room for the dogs that were going to be coming in because their owners had lost their homes.
Okay.
And so they needed a place to put their dogs until they got back on their feet and
Oh,
found a new place to live. And so what we did was make space for the victims of the fires. So those animals were already up for adoption and they came to the Bay Area and got adopted out. So
okay.
it was a happy ending for those
And
animals. They got new
when
homes.
some of them, some owners will find the home, they're not going to claim their animals if they got adopted.
No, what happened was the people who lost their homes had to find a place to live. So a lot of them stayed with friends or families, or had to temporarily leave the area or get hotels or whatever. Their insurance would help provide some temporary housing for them. And in some cases, it made more sense to put the animal in a shelter temporarily until they had something more steady where they knew they were going to live, and then get their animal back. So it's not like they gave up their animals. They just wanted a place for them to stay while they
Okay,
got
got it.
everything organized and then were able to bring their animals back home. That's the story we were told about the reason for making space in the shelters in Los Angeles.
Okay, and now you have enough space in your shelter?
Oh, we don't have a shelter, but the animals that needed space got space in LA.
Okay,
So we're not a shelter, we're not a sanctuary, we don't have property for animals. We move animals in airplanes. And so I have
okay,
one airplane. I have about a half a dozen pilots who volunteer for me that have airplanes. We're also on the edge of getting a new, bigger airplane donated to us so we can move more animals
okay,
in farther distances in a faster amount of time. So we're growing and we got a lot going on, but basically it's our operation is our mission is to move at-risk animals to safety. That's our
okay.
mission, and whether it's domestic animals or wild animals.
Okay, so when you said you moved them to Northern California, you put them in a temporary shelter.
Well, we turned them over to Pets Lifeline in Sonoma, Marin County, at the Humane Society for Marin County, the shelter in Novato, And also the state of Nevada sent a van down here. The Nevada Humane Society also took some animals up to the Reno area. So between those three agencies, all of the animals were picked up and taken to those shelters where they could be adopted out. And these were all large dogs that were already in the shelters in Los Angeles. And sometimes those are the harder animals to get adopted. But these two Bay Area and the one Nevada uh, shelters took those dogs, and to my knowledge, all of them have already been adopted out. One of them is a runner who goes with a young woman who likes to run, and so that dog is living with somebody who likes to run just like the dog does. Another dog has been involved with helping a family that has some emotional needs, and the dog is providing some comfort to them. So every bit of feedback I got back is that these animals are doing great, and they're very happy with finally they have their homes that they're probably going to stay the rest of their lives with.
Okay, so you said you have six or more pilot with planes. Are you a flyer yourself? I mean, do you fly a plane?
Yeah, it all started with just me and my plane. That's when I started flying animals. I started picking up. There's a group called Pilots and Paws. They post these emails, and it just says, "Hey, if you're a pilot and you're going from here to here, would you mind taking this dog on your trip? Because this dog needs to be transferred for a variety of reasons." So I started doing some trips, and I was flying some dogs, and then I was flying some cats, and then I got a trip to fly two bear cubs from Lake Tahoe down to Ramona in San Diego County to the wildlife care facility down there. And that's when I really got hooked on it. And I had been doing, I had been in news my whole career.
Yeah,
And at the time I was working at Cron 4. And I said, you know what, these would make great stories. So I put little cameras in the plane, and I flew the bear cubs with my wife down
yeah,
to Southern California. Then we flew
yeah.
another bear cub back to Lake Tahoe. So it was like 9 hours of flying in one day, and involved three bear cubs. And I did a story on that, and we put it on the air on Cron 4, and it got some great reaction. People loved the story. And so, I felt great about doing it and helping. And, you just feel good doing something like that. And so we were off and running. All of a sudden, I'm
So
trying to
you
do as many
were you
stories as
were
I
a
can in my plane.
sports you were a sports newscaster?
News
Oh,
newscaster.
newscaster.
Yeah.
So no, because during the fire that you just mentioned, we saw the rescue of some dogs on TV. So
Hmm.
it was one of the most watched segments because people
Right.
are interested in saving animals. So and because it has an emotional attachment to it when people see a dog being saved. So what you're doing is great. So do you intervene mostly on disasters, or there are other cases?
It's everything. Anytime an animal is at risk and they call us, we'll go get it and bring it to a safe place. So in the summertime, fires are an issue, obviously. In the wintertime, it can be floods. And in either case, we'll go out and get animals out of a bad situation and fly them to a place where they can be cared for, and ultimately either if it's a domestic animal, get adopted or placed with a home and have, its forever life that way. Or if it's a wild animal, get to a place where it can be cared for and eventually, hopefully, released back into the wild at some point. That's the goal. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way with wild animals because they get used to people, and then they're really not suitable to be released to the wild because they just want to be around people, and that's not good for a wild animal. So that animal is probably going to end up at a zoo or some kind of a sanctuary where it'll still be cared for the rest of its life, but it would not be a good thing to release that kind of an animal back to the wild. But we just want to get animals that are in danger and get them to a safe place. That's the goal.
Yeah, there are some rescue also even for flying animals like seagulls and stuff. I mean, they're
Yeah.
harder to catch, but you sometimes they caught in a tree or they caught in a wire, and they need
Hmm.
to be rescued and taken to a hospital. But all animals, no matter whether they're wild or domesticated, sometimes find themselves in a situation where they need help.
Yeah, and usually it's not the animal's fault. It's something that happens to them. But we've flown a few bald eagles. I flew a bald eagle up to Lake Almanor. It had a wing injury. It was actually found by some fishermen in the lake, kind of flopping around in the water, and they got it out of the water. They took it to some authorities who took it to Sonoma County Wildlife Rescue, which has a fantastic aviary where they can work on birds in particular, and they have a space where they can see how well their flying ability is, and they have veterinarians to care for it. This eagle was eventually fully healed, and I flew it back up to the little airport in Chester, which is right next to Lake Almanor, me and my wife, and we pulled the plane off to the side of the runway. It's right near the lake, and had it in a big dog crate, and opened up the doors, and the eagle kind of hopped out, looked around, and took off. And it was exhilarating to see a bald eagle that had been, injured, to
Go
be able
back.
to take it back to its
Oh
home
wow.
and let it go.
I
It was
hope you took
amazing. It
I
was
hope you
really
took
amazing.
a picture of him.
Oh, we have video of it. You can
Oh,
see it
okay.
on our website. It's
Oh,
amazing.
oh, really? Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. And if that animal that you rescued, like the eagle, needed veterinarian care, you have a fund for that care?
Well, we take it to the people who that's their job, do that. So, for instance, Sonoma County Wildlife Rescue has become one of the premier wildlife facilities in all of California, and they take care of all kinds of wild animals, from little squirrels and raccoons up to bobcats and coyotes and bears and mountain lions. So and birds like owls, hawks, and eagles. So they have wildlife veterinarians who can care for all those different kinds of animals. They're experts. They know exactly what they're doing. They provide top-notch care. We just get the animal to them so that they can care for it, and hopefully, when it gets well enough to be released to the wild, they'll release it themselves if it's easier for them. But in some situations, such as that eagle, it was a lot easier for me to fly it from Petaluma Airport to Chester Airport, is less than an hour. If you're going to drive up there through the Feather River Canyon up to Plumas County, it's going to be a 3 hour plus drive to get up there and back and forth on these windy roads. It's just not good for the animal. It's stressful to be in the back of a truck or a van, going down this road, getting car sick and all of that, when we can just buzz up there, a nice smooth flight, direct, no turning basically, and land and let the animal out in less than an hour. It's just so much more convenient and so much easier on the animal. That's the main thing.
So there's many nonprofit organizations that take care of animals, and they do their own fundraiser. It's a different department of what you're doing.
Right. I mean, we're pretty specific in just focused on flying animals, and that's kind of our part of the whole
That's your
big
part.
picture of
Yeah,
different people taking
yeah,
care of animals.
yeah.
Yeah.
It takes a whole bunch. I mean, a whole number of departments to uh, coordinate all these needs: the
Right.
flying and the capture, and then the care, and then the release to the wild or to back to the owner, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So, do you take care when you say flying? It doesn't have to be like on a regular street that you would rescue an animal. It has to
Well,
be.
we'll
He has
we'll
to
get
be some.
animals that are picked up off of the street. Again, I'm not out on the streets looking for animals.
Oh, okay.
I get calls from, for instance, last week we went down to Fresno,
Yeah.
and there's a problem in the Central Valley with a lot of stray dogs and cats,
Okay.
because
Okay.
a lot of them aren't getting fixed like they should be, and it's an education issue down there. A lot of people just or the cost. It's expensive to get a dog spayed or neutered, and they just can't. A lot of people can't afford it.
And
Whatever
they.
the reason is, like a few days ago, I flew a 120-pound Great Dane in the back of my plane. I had to take the back seat out of the plane. The dog was so
Oh,
big,
wow.
and it just laid down on a. I put a blanket down. It laid down. This gigantic dog laid down. It was really mellow and a nice dog, but it was found wandering the streets. It was malnourished. You could see its bones, and its
Oh,
its toenails were really long because they hadn't been clipped in a long time. So that dog is. I mean, as soon as I landed at the Sonoma Sky Park Airport, the woman who worked in the airport office immediately wanted to adopt that dog. That's how nice of a dog it was. And
Oh,
already she's at the top of the list to probably get that dog adopted. But the shelter that took that dog in, which is called Family Dog Rescue in
yeah,
Sonoma,
yeah.
the first thing it has to do is take it to a veterinarian, and it's going to get fixed. It's going to get its nails trimmed. It's going to get a whole health checkup, and then it will be up for adoption. So the animals are cared for first, and then when they're ready and they're healthy to be adopted, that's when they're available.
Oh, okay, okay. So it could take a week to a month with
Yeah,
whatever the
yeah,
care is
yeah.
of those animals. So you go from flying ones to on the grounds and all wild or domesticated, all of them,
Yep.
all of them.
Anything that will fit in the airplane. We can't
Except,
fly.
but
We
would
can't
you?
fly a full-grown bear, but we
Yeah.
can fly almost everything else.
Oh, wow. A bear might be dangerous though, right?
Well, I've flown bear cubs, and that's authorized. I can't. You just can't go out and fly a bear cub in a plane. So, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife coordinates those flights, and we follow their rules. So we have to put it in a steel crate
Oh,
that's approved by
okay,
Fish and Wildlife, and it's a
okay.
big, heavy-duty crate. So that bear is not going to get out of that crate, at least while it's in the plane.
Oh, okay, okay. So no, no risk on you that he'll jump on you.
No, no.
So let's say a bear, you take care of him and then you put him back where you found him.
Well, the organizations do. So, in the case of the bear we flew up from Ramona, this is actually a very famous bear that was in San Diego County. It was found, and it weighed only 3 pounds. It was
Oh,
tiny,
oh,
very
wow.
tiny bear.
Wow.
And some campers just found it alone in Santa Barbara County. So they called the authorities. The authorities took it in and set up trail cameras to see if the mom would come back to where the bear was found, and it took several days, and they didn't see any sign of the mother. Meantime, they're having to bottle feed this little bear cub. It was so young. It was turned over to Ramona Wildlife Center in San Diego County because they have a facility there. And the people were dressing as bears. They wore fur
Oh,
coats
oh,
and wore masks
oh,
to
wow.
try to let the bear think it was being cared for by other bears, to try to keep
Wow.
it wild
That,
so it could go back to the wild. So
oh,
it stayed there for a couple, 2 or 3 months, and then I picked it up about a week ago,
yeah.
and along with 6 coyotes and a fox, all in
Wow.
the same plane, in my
Oh,
plane,
oh,
and flew it here to the North Bay in Sonoma County and took them to Sonoma County Wildlife Rescue, where they already had a couple bear cubs about the same age. So now this bear cub that lost its mother is with some other bear cubs learning how to be a bear. So it's
oh,
hanging out with other bears, and
oh,
it's learning those behaviors, learning how to forage for food. So they keep these bears in an enclosure where they're not exposed to people, and they feed them, but they hide food sometimes under rocks and under logs. They actually have a little stream and a pond, and they put fish in it so that the bears learn how to fish, because that's one of their natural foods. So they're trying to keep these bears as wild as possible so that
yeah,
when they're big enough
yeah.
to be released, they'll take them to an isolated spot, someplace in the woods, and let them go. And usually they put a tracking collar on them or something like that to see how they're doing in the wild, so that they don't become a problem. You don't want bears going into town and getting in the garbage, like the problem they have up in Lake Tahoe in some places. So that's what happened with that bear in particular.
So you concentrate on California, and then if there's something, let's say in Nevada, that's another person that takes care of it, right? It's not you.
Right. Yeah, I just turn it over to the people who know how to take care of these kinds of animals.
Oh, okay. So Nevada also has a flying tail organization.
I'm the only Flying Tails organization. Sorry about that.
Oh, so you're
I'm the
the
only.
only one in the United States?
Well, I mean, there are other people who do fly animals, and there's a group called Pilots and Paws, which flies mostly dogs and cats,
Oh,
and that's something where it's a big organization across the country, but it's all volunteer pilots across the country. we're, as far as I know, we're one of the only wildlife rescues that's dedicated to flying animals that are in danger and flying them to safety. So
Ah,
there are other people who do what I do.
yeah,
I know there's a doctor in, I think he's in Montana or Utah,
yeah.
and he has a plane and he's flying dogs constantly uh, out of
Oh,
Texas,
oh,
where they also
because
have a problem with strays, and he takes them up to Utah, where
yeah.
they have animal shelters that are almost empty because everybody fixes and spays their animals, so they don't have a lot of strays.
Yeah.
So they take these dogs from Texas, where up to Utah, where they have a really good shot at being adopted. Whereas
Oh,
in some places they'll just be euthanized,
so
which we
these
don't want to see.
doctors who are wealthy and own a plane can afford to give a little bit of
Right,
their time to help animals.
right, right. That's one thing. There's a guy in Southern California who has two twin engine planes, and he actually is talking about donating one of his planes to us because he believes in what we're doing, and he does a similar thing with a group called Canine Companions, which trains um, um, dogs to help people with disabilities. And Canine Companions has service dogs that go out across the country. And he flies those dogs to, when they're puppies, they need to go to their training program. So he'll fly, a dozen or so puppies in his plane from the Bay Area to Seattle or Denver or Dallas, depending on which school they're going to. So there's a lot of pilots that are flying these kinds of animals, but I think there's probably a need that's bigger than the amount of pilots that are out there doing it. So that's why we're always kind of trying to keep up with the
Oh,
demand. I get calls all the time for
oh,
people
so
who
if
want
someone
animals.
calls from another state, you refer them to a person in that state who can help them, correct?
Right, right.
You have like a 800 number, or it's your number that we
Oh,
see?
well, for me, it's you just go on our website and you can find out the information. And most of our calls come from organizations that already know all about us, and they
Oh,
keep us pretty busy. Yeah,
oh,
so the California Department of Fish and Wildlife will get a hold of us. Sonoma County Wildlife Rescue, Ramona in San Diego County, those, and there's one in Santa Barbara County and one in Malibu. Those are the big ones that handle most of the orphaned animals and injured wildlife in California. Those four in particular. So I work with all of them. Plus, I work with a lot of shelters such as Dogwood in Sonoma County, Pets Lifeline in Sonoma. I've worked with San Francisco SPCA. I've worked with ones down the peninsula in the South Bay and the East Bay as well, Rocket Dog and other places like that. So yeah, there's plenty of trips for us to fly, and our biggest issue is just being able to fund it because it
yeah,
costs
because to keep
costs money to
a
fly a
private
plane.
airplane costs a lot to fund, correct, with the gas
It's
and
about $700 round trip to fly from the Bay Area to Southern California. $700. So each
plus you
trip,
have to
it adds up.
maintain the maintenance of the plane.
Yep,
So,
maintenance, insurance, all those things.
oh
Yeah,
wow.
it's
And
yeah.
you love to fly then. I mean, apparently you bought a plane because you love to fly.
Yeah, and I was flying around for a while. I got my license back in 1999. I've had this plane since 2003. So, and when I started flying, it was great. And flew to all the places I wanted to go fly to, and did all that fun stuff. But then it kind of got to be where I want to do something more useful and practical than just flying someplace to have lunch or something like that. I mean, nothing wrong with that. It's like
Yes,
getting
of
on a
course. Yeah,
motorcycle or
yeah.
something
Some
and
people want
going
their
for a ride.
privacy. Yeah.
Yeah, but I wanted to. I don't know. It just felt when I did the first trip with the animal, it just kind of hit me. It's like, wow, I'm still flying and having fun, but at the same time, I'm helping. And
Yeah.
it's just got a great deal of satisfaction out of that. It was really there's nothing more enjoyable than flying, and in the back behind you are some animals that are going to a better place. I mean,
Yes, yes. It's at
it's a
least,
double good feeling, right?
yeah, yeah. You see the
It's
beautiful blue
awesome.
sky, and then at the same time, you
Yeah.
do a good service to the animal. And Everything else is under your flyingtails.org. It's a 501(c)(3), I believe. So if
Yep.
anybody wants to contribute, go to flyingtails.org. It's a good organization, it's a good cause. And I think Ken is doing a great job to pick up on that need out there for animals. You probably own an animal yourself.
Two right now.
Oh, you do.
We have. She just where'd she go? I think she snuck out.
Oh, you have a dog. Okay.
I have a little dog who snuck out, and then we have a young dog and an old cat.
Ah,
And the dog wants to play with the cat, but the cat's like, no, I'm
so
too old to play.
oh, so you have an
Yeah,
affinity for animals already. Yeah. So
absolutely. Love animals.
you love
Yeah,
them.
sometimes I love animals more than people. I don't know if that's good or bad.
It's good. It's good because human we can detect their flaws, but animals they're so natural. They
Yeah,
don't fake things. They don't
right.
plan things. So they're all natural. As long as you
You're right.
feed them, keep them warm, they love you,
Yeah.
and everything
They
else.
don't judge. They
Yeah,
don't
they
judge.
don't judge. You don't need to give them a diamond necklace or a fur or anything. They already have a fur.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much. I enjoyed you presenting your organization. So you're located in Sonoma right now.
Yes, we're in Sonoma, but we fly all over California and beyond.
And how many trips per month do you take?
Oh, we're probably doing at least a trip a week,
Oh,
sometimes two.
okay.
I just
So,
did one 2 days ago. That was the Great Dane, and then Sunday I'm flying a bear cub from
oh,
Auburn to
another bear.
Eureka. Another bear cub.
So,
Yeah.
so the zoos have your phone number too, right? In case an animal escape. But
Yeah.
how do you locate these animals? You have a GPS or something?
Well, we don't. No, we're not out hunting looking for lost animals or escaped animals. We're only there when they have an animal that needs to be moved.
Oh, they
So
know
if
exactly where the animal is? Okay,
yes,
okay,
yes,
okay. So
yeah,
that makes sense. Thank
yeah.
you so much, Ken. It's a pleasure meeting you on Zoom. So I'll send you this ASAP today or tomorrow, but it's a
Okay.
pleasure meeting you. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. I appreciate your time too.
Okay. See you later.
See you.